Hi and welcome everybody to my channel for another video, and today I'm going to make some collage fodder pieces with my Sketchy Leaves stencil with the new one, the number 5, and I'm using my Gelli Plate. It's the Gelli Plate that's a little bit smaller than than an A4 paper, because I have some finished jelly prints in that size, and I'm going to use these to make the fodder pieces. I have more than just one stencil pack open, and I'm using the masks of the stencil, of course. And I did a similar video already, I think in spring, and I'm going to link that up in the end cards so you can check that out too if you like this idea. Of course, you don't have to have so many of these masks. You can just combine them with others. But today I wanted to make the fodder from these images so I can use them on my future projects. I'm starting out with some white acrylic paint. I'm using the Systems 3. It's not my favorite paint for jelly printing because when you combine it with more layers and other paints, it gets sticky and it almost rolls up your underlayer, if you have already a layer on the plate, to your brayer with the System 3 paint. I cannot really explain what's happening there, but that does not happen with the other paints like Amsterdam or Liquitex. I covered the whole Gelli plate with the white paint and I'm laying the stencils on top. Of course, at this stage you could play around and create kind of a composition with these leaves, because we will make a ghost print later that can make a nice background, and especially if you are arranging the leaves in a nice way. I don't do this today because it's all about the elements I want to get out of that, and so I'm placing as much images on my Gelli plate as possible. I'm now laying a jelly print that's already finished on top of the plate, and I give it a good rub. I take care that I get in all the edges and areas to get connected to the plate and to lift that paint up. You don't have to let the stuff dry on your plate. Please do not do that. I don't think that works. And here you can see the result. I now quickly remove the masks from the Gelli plate. You will see what I have made later in the video. So that paint does not dry and I can use this for another print. I'm just laying these aside. I do not clean them at this stage of the process. I will do this once I'm finished completely. And I'm now placing another paper on top which has some color on it already from cleaning my brayer, just to pick up that layer of white paint. And that gives you a really nice background sometimes, especially when you have laid out the leaves in a nice composition. There is still some paint left on the plate, and I think I'm going to clean that with another layer of paint just to make sure that the plate is clean for my next round with the masks. I'm using the raw sienna from Liquitex. It's one of my favorite colors. I really like that yellow ochre color because it's so vibrant and bright and transparent compared to a usual yellow ochre. I'm also using an old gel print that's not so nice, or where is already something on the background that's also not nice, to just fill up the papers and maybe make them more pretty. I let this sit a little longer because I want to make sure that it picks up all the white splotches that are left on the plate. and that worked, and there was not much on it, so but it's a nice background, I think. And for my next collage fodder pieces, I'm using black paint this time. It's important for this technique that you are using opaque paints, because transparent paints will not really work. Because you want to cover up everything except from the masked out areas. And I'm doing the same that I've just did before. I'm very sorry that the lighting is so bright now. It's because the camera is measuring and it's just seeing the black, and that makes everything quite light. I'm now placing the masks on top again. And then I'm using another gel print that's already done to place this over the top and to create the collage elements. And again, I'm making sure that I press it down very, very well to pick up all the paint in between the small areas of the masks. Otherwise, the masks will not be that detailed, or the elements in the end. I always make sure that I pick contrasting colors. So with the white paint, I picked some more darker background. And with the black paint, I picked a kind of a lighter background. So I have a high contrast. And later I'm going to cut these out and leave a small outline in black or white, depending on which colors I have used. I'm now also removing the masks, and I'm using that raw sienna print from before to pick up the black paint from the plate. And again, I let that sit a little longer to make sure that everything transfers quite well. I usually never let my paper dry on the plate. You have to do this if you have many layers, which you all want to pick up. And also with some papers, they don't like to be lifted once while they are wet, and then they will tear. So in this case, you also have to let that dry completely before you lift it up. I really like that background. I think it's a really nice texture and color combo. There is something left on the plate, and I just used some white paint to pick that up from the Gelli Plate. And as I said, if you are arranging your masks in a nice composition, maybe you can create really nice and interesting backgrounds in the second round. But I did not do it because I want to make as much fodder pieces as possible. So I just laid them very close to each other. That's also an old print where I think there was nothing on the back, or just some cleaning color from the brayer. I try to use these papers at the moment because I have a lot that are absolutely not pretty, just cleaning papers from the brayer that turned out muddy and not bright, and I try to cover these with either more paint or a print, and maybe they will get more useful. I will make another layer or another round of fodder pieces with black, because I found another very beautiful jelly print that I wanted to use for that. And I'm just repeating the process. I'm covering my jelly plate with a layer of black acrylic paint. I place the masks on top, and then I lay the finished jelly print on top. If you are enjoying this video and if it's helpful, it would be really nice if you leave a comment underneath or give it a thumbs up or do both. That's really helpful for my channel and to keep going with these videos. And you will also find the products linked up in the video description and a link to my blog where you can have a look at some photos. And I'm also going to share some more projects with these elements in the next week. There will be also some projects over on our shop blog, which is also linked in the video description, so make sure to jump over there. We have a really nice blog with 6 projects a week, many inspirations all around stenciling, stamping, mixed media, card making, and there is no advertising stuff that's popping up and that covers the parts that you want to read, because that's something I find really annoying when I jump to a blog and I want to read something, and that often it's full with advertising and things are popping up into your face and you cannot read the actual blog post, and we don't have that over on our blog. We also have a weekly newsletter where we send out just a recap of the week on the blog, which projects have been posted, and that might be interesting, so you don't have to check out the blog every day, but you get that email and then you can see, oh, there's a really interesting project and I want to see how this is done, and then you can jump over. We also sometimes send out emails when we have a sale. There was a Halloween sale just one day, and I think then it's very useful to have the email subscription to get informed about that. And if we have new products, we also send out a newsletter. I'm now trying to pick that up, and I decided to cover the Gelli Plate with a layer of paint, and I used white and that raw sienna. The leaves were still wet on the plate, so usually I would have let dry the leaves completely before I cover them up with paint, but I didn't want to wait that long. So that's a tip I would give you. If you want to have a pretty and clear print, let the first layer dry before you brayer over the top. And I also give this some time so the color can be picked up, and I'm hoping to cleaning the plate with this one step. I always try to keep the plate clean when I pack it away, because if you have paint on your Gelli Plate, this might cause some bumps in your Gelli Plate. Not sure if you know what I mean, but I think it's quite important to pack it away when it's clean. I did not do that in the past, but it's really true. It gives you some texture on the plate if you leave it too long on the plate. So now I always clean it completely. I'm now done with the jelly printing, and we are now going to finish the fodder pieces. I already cut them all out, and I'm doing this usually in front of the TV in the evenings. It's a nice thing to do if you want to relax but still do something and not just sit on the couch. And then I usually always cut out something, and I think they turned out so pretty and so bright and colorful. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to stamp some of them, not all of them, just a few, because that makes them a bit different and also sometimes more interesting. And for the black ones, I just used some black ink. And I'm using StazOn because I'm working over the top of an acrylic background. And StazOn is the only ink that will dry immediately. I'm using, I would say, quite neutral stamps, like here the script stamp and all that kind of mixed media style stuff. And this is a stamp from our Mix It Up #4 stamp set, and the next one is also from that same. No, it's not. Sorry, it's from the Mix It Up #6 stamp set. It's some handwriting, and that I think that's quite neutral and can be used with so many projects. But of course, you don't have to do that. But I just like to have something to pick from when I'm creating, and so I have some different options. I really love how these photo pieces turned out with the ombre effect sometimes of the colors. I think they are really lovely. For the next leaf, I'm using a smaller stamp. That's also from Mix It Up #6. It's a number from a ticket, kind of, in a ticket kind of style, I would say. It's also nice to use a smaller image to add some texture. I'm also picking up the word create from that same stamp set, and I use this also on that piece. Next, I'm picking that book page stamp. It's from our Mix It Up #5 stamp set. And you can also use it like that you just lay that piece on top and then press your fingers down. I did that here because I thought, as it's so big and my surface is quite hard, that it maybe work better when I do it like that. That works quite nice, but I just later recognized that it's just not necessary and that it works a bit easier to just do it like I did it before. Place the leaf at the surface and then stamp over the top of, because I got really dirty fingers with this way of stamping. It's quite easy to add texture to the black ones, but I also wanted to have some interest on some of the white outlined elements. And here I'm going to use some embossing powder. I think white stamping ink does not work very well. I did not find any ink that would stamp bright over an acrylic surface. So I'm using embossing powder to get a really nice and opaque texture. I'm just cleaning my stamps so I don't get a grayish white, and then I'm going to emboss them. I'm using Versamark ink for stamping. That's an embossing ink, and then I'm going to cover it with, I think it's some kind of an ultra fine embossing powder. Not sure if this is important, but that's the only thing I have. And I'm going to do the same with the fern leaf, and I'm using a different stamp to have some different texture. I'm now going to heat set the embossing powder with my heat tool, and then the pieces are finished. I hope you enjoyed that video today, and maybe you are interested in some of the other videos here, and I wish you a lovely weekend. Bye!